I came across this very interesting article featuring 40 Wix websites. But what is interesting about this is that this article is from year 2020, making it over 900 days old. So I decided to do some investigation to see how those websites have developed over time. I ran speed tests on each site to see how well they are optimized for mobile and desktop usage with help of Google PageSpeed Insight, as well as GTmetrix. Plus, I put together a bunch of Excel spreadsheets and graphs to make it easier for you to read. So let's dive in. I split this video into two parts. Let's start with the first one, the overall review. So as I mentioned before, I took a deep dive into 40 different websites. Here are the results. 8 out of 40 websites are no longer up and running. They don't exist anymore. 4 websites have switched to something other than Wix. In 3 cases, it was WordPress, and in 1, it was Shopify. 3 websites are using Wix with another platform. For example, this website is using Wix, but they are selling their stuff through Kajabi. Then 6 to 8 websites, depending on how you look at it, seems to be abandoned, and the rest of them are still rocking with Wix. Alright, so let's quickly run through how I figure all of this out. Whenever you are on a website, you can simply right-click with your mouse and select Inspector, or just hit Ctrl-Shift-I on your keyboard and it will take you to a page where you can see all of the elements of the website. Here you can see the HTML, CSS and JavaScript code that make up the site structure and design. If we hit Ctrl-F, we can search for specific terms within that code. So if we search for Wix and get some results like this, then we know for sure that this website was built with Wix. And if we don't see anything, then we can be sure that they are not using Wix. But let me tell you about one handy little trick that can save you a ton of time. When you're analyzing a bunch of websites or checking up your competition, you can simply download a totally free Google Chrome extension called Wapalizer. It gives you a visual breakdown of everything you need to know in under 3 seconds, so no other tedious process is required. And even if the website is no longer with us, rest in peace website, rest in peace, you can still take a peek by visiting Web Archive. They store old websites, but not only that, you can even check how existing websites looked in the past. Now let's take a look at actual results. I'm happy to say that the websites I've been analyzing have been pretty diverse. We've got everything from online stores and blogs to restaurant websites and portfolio sites. And I'm very glad to say that we have here even some of the most creative looking websites I have ever seen. Surprising, right? But when I was checking up all of those Wix websites, I gotta say I was surprised how badly designed they've been. And I'm not talking about the subjective part of design like the colors and fonts. I'm talking about the actual mistakes and issues within those websites. For instance, in one restaurant website, they have had this strange white rectangle over their home page that you cannot see through, which is just super weird. Then there was this designer's website that looked pretty good at first glance, but when I tried to read something on their website, I had to scroll horizontally to see it. I mean, come on, this is just frustrating. And no, I wasn't zoomed in on my Google Chrome, I was on 100%. And don't even get me started on this designer studio. It looked decent when I didn't move. But when I scrolled down, the header was all over the place. And it wasn't just on the home page, it was on every page. Honestly, if I was a potential client, I would be seriously discouraged by something like this. One last bad example is this restaurant website. The images aren't fully visible and you cannot click on them to view them in full size. But the worst part is that instead of linking on your own social media, they are linking to Wix's social media. This is especially bad because they have a large following of over 10k on Facebook, and their website is linked also on places like Yelp. So you definitely want to be linking on your social media. All of those mistakes may seem like minor issues, but if you add them up, it will make your website look very, very unprofessional, even when using something as seemingly simple as Wix to build it. Now let's switch gears and let's talk about websites that have really surprised me in a positive way with their design. First up is a website of an artist named Valeria Moniz. She was born in Uzbekistan but raised in Israel, and she sells some really unique custom-made tableware. While some of her pieces I may have to blur because of YouTube, the website itself is very clean and easy to navigate. In fact, I was surprised to learn that it was actually made using Wix, as it looks very clean, very professional, and very well designed. Another amazing website was made by Day by Day Key, a multidisciplinary artist who specializes in aesthetic and computing research. When I stumbled upon it, I couldn't believe it was actually created with Wix. The design is so unique and perfect for an artist like Day. I used to think that Wix and Squarespace website, they looked all the same. But this just proves that it is possible to create something truly original without using pre-existing templates. Another great website was by Lena Starkuler, who is making digital film, design, and is a VFX artist. The website is very clean with no unnecessary clutter and showcases her work nicely. You truly cannot go wrong with design like this. However, I'm not sure if she's still active, because her Instagram and other social media hasn't been updated since 2018, and the web archive doesn't show any new work on this website in recent years. Lastly, I want to highlight one of my personal favorite websites I have reviewed in this test, the Sophia Log. It is a blog run by a person who, by the way, described herself beautifully. If Indiana Jones and Martha Stewart had a baby, it would be Sophia Hollingsworth. The website has great color scheme and overall simple yet effective design. I particularly like the interactive map in here, which is a more engaging way for visitors to explore different countries compared to a boring list. Although I admit this is gonna be a little nitpicking, well, it is serious nitpicking. It would be even more awesome if whenever you hover over a country like Australia, it will actually pop up in this map as well. But overall, the blog also looked very interesting, which just goes to show how important content is not just in terms of writing, but also visually. The second part, performance. Now let's dive into performance of those websites. I ran every single website through Google's PageSpeed Insight to see how they were optimized both on desktop and mobile devices. Also, I ran every single website through GTmetrix to gain additional performance metrics. I compiled all of this data into charts, but don't worry, I also made graphs for you to make it more easy to visualize for you. The first graph displays Google PageSpeed score on desktop, with higher number indicating better performance and 100 obviously being the best score. To my surprise, those results were surprisingly good. Keep in mind that all of those websites were probably not built with performance in their mind, and they were mostly relying on Wix's built-in performance enhancing stuff. Only 4 websites scored below 70 points, with the lowest being 54 points for a footballer influencer's website. As you can see, the video is clearly the biggest problem in here because it hasn't been optimized and those videos are over 16 megabytes, which is just too much. However, I believe this issue could be easily fixed. Overall, I noticed this as a recurring problem on all of those websites that haven't scored very well. Their media, their images and videos are just not optimized very well. Even though Wix has relatively good built-in optimization software, they are still lacking in this area. On desktop, the average score was around 83.75%, which is honestly decent considering that those websites likely weren't built with speed optimization in mind. However, it is also important to note that those results may vary day to day. If you would like to go and replicate my result, it can vary significantly because of factors like network conditions, server performance, website updates, browser cache, testing methodology, and much more. However, the mobile performance was completely different story. We can see that only 3 websites scored over 70 points optimization score for mobile devices. The issues are typical for every website builder, such as the need to reduce unused JavaScript. And once again, the images and videos are just not being optimized very well. This can become a problem since more and more people are using their phones to visit websites. We can also take a look at average score, which is 23.46%. And that is nothing to write home about. There's definitely not good numbers inside here. And here I also put them together so we can compare them side by side to see if they match up. And you can see there is clearly some correlation and they are following similar trends. However, there is one outlier. That may be a mistake, but for sake of keeping the data fair to everyone, I didn't want to redo just one website. Nevertheless, the other seems to be following very similar pattern. Now let's take a look at how they perform on GTmetrix. But before we go there, you definitely want to go and subscribe if you like video like this, because I will be also making similar videos to WordPress, Shopify, and Squarespace, and many more. So if you like this video so far, you will definitely like also those videos. So subscribe, but for now, let's continue. Here are screenshots of all the results so you can see that I'm not making anything up. You can come back and stop video if you want to see it one by one. From here, I took into consideration three main things: the overall grade, performance, and LCP, or largest contentful paint. Overall, the results were very similar inside here for every website. The main loading time is relatively fast for every website, but the fully load time usually takes a little longer, between 5 to 8 seconds on average, with this portfolio website being the longest, with fully loaded time of 29.2 seconds. In this graph, we can see distribution of GTmetrix grades, and I have to admit, they are surprisingly good. This next graph is showing us performance metrics. The number you can see here. It ranges from 0 to 100, with 100 being the best. We can see that sites built with Wix have good performance, which was actually a big surprise for me personally. I always thought that the average Wix website, without any performance enhancement in mind, will be performing in range of around 70%. And I was positively surprised to see those results. However, as you can see, they are clearly capable of achieving even a 95% plus performance, with the average still being a very solid 86.04%, which is a very nice surprise, honestly. Now let's take a look at LCP, which basically means the first loading, the loading of the most important stuff, so most important images and text inside here. For example, lazy loading can help tremendously in those cases and in improving these scores, as it will load only parts of the website that you are currently viewing. Optimizing images, videos, and web fonts, reducing server requests, and improving server response time can also be effective in improving your LCP. This metrics is really important, and according to some experts, it is recommended to keep it under 2.5 seconds or 2500 milliseconds. However, if you ask me, I would go and suggest to go and try to aim for under 1.5 seconds or even under 1 second if it is possible, because this can really improve not only your speed but also ranking on Google, because Google really don't like slow websites. Based on my test, many websites perform very well, with some even being under 1 second, which is a great result in terms of loading speed. Of course, there were some negative outliers, but overall, the average score was around 1.28 seconds, which is really good for basic website. Now here are my 3 main takeaways of this video. You can go and write me your takeaways down in the comment section below. So I'm happy to say that over the years, Wix has made significant improvement in its performance, but it is still lacking in a mobile performance in my opinion. Also, if you are a designer, influencer, or some service provider who wants to showcase their work, then using Wix can be a really good choice for you. However, I would still not recommend Wix for e-commerce websites and even blogs due to the optimization problems that can negatively impact your website ranking on Google, as well as limited SEO capabilities. I would definitely go and recommend you for blogs using WordPress and for e-commerce stores using something like Shopify, because those can negatively affect the visitor experience on mobile devices, which can ultimately lead to a decrease in your sales or even decrease in ranking in Google, which is definitely bad for bloggers. If you want to see the process of building a Wix website in under 10 minutes, you can go and check this video inside here. You definitely want to go and subscribe to see more videos like this. Have a nice day and goodbye.